This is one of the best percussion VSTs on the market. And this is the new improved version, because it's got more stuff.
Now I use new improved Arid Extra Dry.
UVI sent me a copy of Percussion Factory 2, and it doesn't have any additives.
This new improved aluminum chlorohydrate formula.
The disclaimer, on the other hand, it's chock full of them.
A bunch of hieroglyphics. White blinking lights.
The original Percussion Factory came out in 2023, and I kind of ignored it at first because I had a couple of percussion libraries, but then I saw a couple of really killer features that make this thing just really quick and easy to work with.
So I bought the original version and have been a fan of it ever since. In fact, we reviewed it on the channel and it received a 95 out of 100, which is one of the highest scores I've given a VST.
Now, Percussion Factory 2 isn't a real big upgrade in terms of the UI, mainly because the original UI was pretty darn good to begin with. But I do like the new look of this. The higher contrast is nicer to look at, and the blacked out version is a little bit easier on the eyes.
The main crux of version 2 are the new sounds, because they've added some electronic drums and modular glitch, both of which are pretty cool. I've got the stats on the screen to show the improvements. This is pretty standard for UVI, as they are one of the kings of sampling, and almost always include a lot of stuff in their VSTs.
But the big new add is all these new Foley sounds. And Foley is essentially ear candy. And you might think I'm being hyperbolic with that. I'm not. I'll go into that in a minute. But first, we need to talk about the reason that we even have Foley at all. Because in alternate universes, we don't.
It's this guy right here, Jack Donovan Foley, born from Irish immigrants in 1891. You see, prior to Foley, movies were silent, and the music often came from a full live orchestra. Radio had started to incorporate live sound into their shows because the phonographs of the time could not faithfully record and then reproduce those effects. Foley, who had been instrumental in getting the movie industry to come to his local town in California, was then hired by Universal Studios and worked as a stuntman and even directed a silent movie. Ultimately, he found his calling as part of a sound crew that transformed Universal's then upcoming silent movie, Showboat, into a musical. He is credited with the sound in many movies of the era, and his basic methods are still used today, even 50-plus years after his death.
In essence, Foley is synonymous with sound effects, and there's a couple of key reasons why you might want to include Foley in your music. The first is that it's not really used that much, and scarcity breeds interest.
Foley is kind of like the cherry on top of the sundae. It's not the main thing, but you can't help but notice it. Take Billy Joel's You May Be Right as an example. If you know the song, then one of the first things that comes to mind is the breaking glass sound in the opening. Girls, Girls, Girls by Motley Crue starts with a motorcycle rev, and Joe Satriani's Surfin' with the Alien starts with a crowd sound, and then uses a jet flyover as a drop before hitting his crescendo solo near the end of the song.
The whole song is a solo, but that's beside the point.
Possibly the best example of iconic Foley is Pink Floyd's Welcome to the Machine. It's a full 50 seconds before you get a bass line, and a minute and 5 seconds before the first guitar sounds out. Yet it's one of the most iconic songs in their catalog.
Foley is also a very different sound when compared to your typical drum set, which again almost forces you to notice it.
Pink Floyd's Money might be the best example of this. The cash register and money sounds of the intro are so different and set up so well that they grab your attention right away, and then they form the backbone of the rhythm section for the first 20 seconds of the song.
Thus, Foley isn't just a weird name, it's useful in all kinds of different music.
If Foley is the cherry on the sundae, then percussion is the whipped cream. It also isn't used a ton in modern American and Western pop music.
Typically, you're going to have your big three, and that's usually guitar, drums, and bass. And there aren't very many bands that don't have these three core elements.
The next add is usually a lead guitar, then maybe a keyboard player. Percussion usually isn't even considered until you've covered every possible guitar, including double-necked monstrosities that only Don Felder can afford. Unless you're the Talking Heads.
But before we talk about how you can incorporate Foley and percussion into your songs, let's talk about the new effects, because there's a couple of really cool ones.
There are several new master effects with version 2, including now having 2 reverb options and 2 delay options. A granulizer and bit crusher are also new. And finally, a crusher, flanger, and frequency shifter in the Insert Effects section.
We've hinted at the first tip, which is to use multiple drum and/or percussion lines in a song. I mean, you've got a lot of options. You might as well use them.
Does an orchestra rely on one violin player? No, they have a section. Same with horns, and if you've ever played with a full horn section, you know how awesome this sounds. Hotel California is a fantastic song, in part because it's played on 3.5 guitars. For this example, we'll start with the Lakota Wrights preset, but then we're going to layer 4 total drum parts. Here's a snippet of each.
Now that's 4 completely different grooves. You got the Native American thing, you got a modular glitch thing, you got Dollhouse, which is this cool woodblocky, warm sound going on, and then you've got a trap beat. On the surface, you wouldn't think that these things would go together, but they do, because it's like that horn section or that violin section. All these sounds are meant to go together, and as long as you're in the same time signature, you can pull things in, pull things out, and if you work at it a little bit, you can get a really cool groove.
For this example, we're going to see how you can use multiple drum lines together to add space across the EQ spectrum. And we're going to use a couple of the tricks from Pink Floyd's Money. Roger Waters used cash register and coin drop sounds, which fill up the mid and high end of the spectrum to start the song. And then that quirky bass line comes in to fill out the low end.
This is layering 101. You got 2 sounds, but they're at totally different ends of the spectrum.
This is also typically how a kick and snare / hi-hat combo works. The kick fills in the spectrum, usually under 200 to 250 Hz, and the snare is typically above that. This is also exactly what Queen does in We Will Rock You, another great use of Foley. In my example, I start in the opposite direction. I've got a low-end bass line and a pretty killer preset from Percussion Factory 2, with a couple of faint high-frequency computer blips. I've also got one of the Foley chants from PF2, and I'm using the new Bloom reverb to really give it some space. This occupies the high-frequency range and balances out the mix.
One thing that grabs your attention in Money is the 1-chord tremolo guitar sound. I mean, this song is like hook after hook after hook. You got the Money Foley sounds, you got the quirky bass line, and then that 1-chord guitar just grabs you, and all 3 of these just work to really drag you into the song. Again, ear candy. And I came up with this next part on the song I'm working on by accident. I grabbed something from UVI Quadra, I grabbed a 12-string guitar sample, and I was playing with Shade with some of the free presets, which you can get right here if you haven't already. And wouldn't you know it, the one that caught my ear was one that sounds pretty close to a tremolo.
For the next patch, I've dropped out the main percussion line in favor of a drum / clap line from Drum Designer. Again, sticking with our high and low frequency layering idea. But I've copied 2 of the drum lines from the previous percussion patch and replaced them with just high frequency sounds, a money drop and a triangle.
Now for the money drop. I've added some crusher and some flanger, and it adds some really nice sizzle to this. Listen to the difference.
To put a modern edge on this, I've added a hefty amount of delay to the money drop sound and also added in the granulizer. This cuts it up and makes it sound more modern and glitchy. This new 3rd percussion line is now the hook, and your ears pick this up and focus on it.
Revolution.
That driving metal hit that you hear, that's kind of like the Terminator 2 soundtrack. And that's another great use of Foley.
4 bars later is the next change, where we swap out the drum line for the percussion line. which really emphasizes the very high and low ends of the spectrum. This is another hook, because the clap is much more impactful on the high end, and it kind of dances back and forth with the Foley of the percussion. With the drums gone though, the sub-kick and metal hit of the triangle now become the focus, and the mid-range kind of drops out, with the exception of the vocals.
Revolution. Is he as good as you say? You say?
Oh, he's better.
And what does he want with you?
Oh, now you got me.
Revolution.
Finally, everything comes in. We've maxed out all the tracks, and hopefully the hooks have done their part and drawn your ears into the song. Each one of these hooks is designed to be ear candy of some sort. It's supposed to be a, whoa, what did I just hear moment? And your mind immediately goes, that was cool, I want to hear it again. Foley and percussion are great tools to help with that. So if you like this, head over to UVI and pick it up. That's it for today. Be sure and hit that like and subscribe to real humans like me, because fake AI bands and baby presidents are taking over, and only you can stop their world domination goals. Go make some great music, and I will see you on the other side of the mountain.
Tina.
It's a revolution. Revolution. It's a revolution. Revolution. Is he as good as you say? You say?